up, YouTube family? It's your brother YT. Wake 'em up, back at it again with another video. This one is about the digital ID and the dangers of it in the USA. Y'all should know by now the UK has made it mandatory for their citizens to have the digital ID to work. The UK is the testing ground for the digital ID. It'll go from the UK to the USA to Australia to Canada to Southeast Asia, to every single country. We're getting this much closer. Many of us have been warning about the digital ID, social credit score, carbon footprint trackers, and so forth since 2020. Fast forward 2025, we are here now. This is a major topic causing havoc across social media. Millions of Americans are not prepared for what's about to happen. We do identify this as the beast system. And Elon himself, he's one that, he's a very sinister man, in my opinion. But still, due to him being one of the elites, I think it's important that we hear what he has to say about it so that we can know the devil's moves, Hashatan's moves, before they happen and be prepared. Share this video out to those that may not know about the digital ID and that need to be informed about it and Hashatan's tactics. All right, I'm not going to talk too much further. Thumbs up this video, smash subscribe to join the tribe, and ring the post notification bell as well. All right, let's get into it.
Imagine waking up tomorrow and realizing you need government permission just to buy groceries, fill your gas tank, or even access your own money. Sounds like science fiction, right? But it's the very real path that digital ID systems are pushing us toward. Once introduced, they don't just make life easier, they make life controlled. And history shows us something important. When it's free, you are the product, and once freedoms are handed over, they rarely come back. Do you remember when you first got a Social Security number? It was supposed to be just for retirement benefits, nothing more. They even printed "not for identification purposes" right on the cards. But look what happened over the decades. Slowly, quietly, that number became the key to everything. Your credit, your healthcare, your employment, your banking. What started as a simple retirement program became the foundation of a surveillance system most people don't even realize exists. Now they want to do the same thing, but this time, it's not just a number on a card you can leave at home. This time, it's a digital system that knows where you are, what you're buying, who you're talking to, and what you're thinking based on what you search for online. They're calling it a digital ID, and they're wrapping it up in the same promises they always use: convenience, security, efficiency. But here's what a digital ID really means in plain English. It's like having a government agent following you around with a clipboard, writing down everything you do, everywhere you go, everyone you talk to, and every penny you spend. Except this agent never sleeps, never takes a break, and never forgets anything, ever. The digital ID they're pushing is essentially a unified digital passport that ties together your identity with your finances, your healthcare records, your travel history, and your online activity. Every website.
Yeah, and I've heard that all you need is one bank account. When you create one bank account with KYC, know your customer, connected with that digital ID system, then that's all they need to tie you to the digital ID, to know your whereabouts, what you're buying, where you're going, to know everything about you, to know your behaviors, your habits.
Visit, every purchase you make, every doctor's appointment you attend. It all gets connected to one central profile that the government can access whenever they want, for whatever reason they decide is important. They're marketing this as the ultimate convenience. Think how easy it'll be. They say, no more fumbling with multiple cards or passwords, one simple digital identity for everything. But you know what? The most convenient thing for a prison guard is when all the inmates are locked in their cells. Convenient for whom, exactly? This isn't some far-off possibility we're talking about. Right now, across the Atlantic, our allies in Britain are rolling out something called the Brit card, and watching what's happening there is like getting a preview of coming attractions. The British government started with all the same friendly language we're hearing here. They said it would streamline services, enhance security, and prevent another scandal like what happened to the Caribbean immigrants who couldn't prove their right to be in the country after living there for decades. They even claimed it would stop people from crossing the English Channel in small boats, though anyone with half a brain can see that's complete nonsense. People working in the underground economy aren't exactly worried about carrying official government identification. But here's where it gets disturbing, and why every American should be paying attention. The Brit card isn't just about proving who you are online. It's about building a centralized, state-controlled digital identity system that connects your finances, your medical history, your travel movements, your social media activity, and even your real-world social interactions.
A digital prison, digital slavery, the beast system. They will force you to use the digital ID. Otherwise, you won't be able to partake in society. You won't be able to do anything or live a normal life, or what we knew as normal. Work a job, pay taxes, buy or sell, run a business included in that, travel, drive on the roads, fly on airplanes, open a bank account, go to concerts, download apps and log into apps, use social media. Even in Australia, they're making it where there are age verifications to get on YouTube. They're going to make it seem like it's for the benefit of you, but it's not. They're going to make it seem like it's for security purposes. They're going to make it seem like it's to combat the migrant crisis, the one that they created. Problem, reaction, solution. They create the problem, force a reaction, then give the solution. The solution is nothing but a mechanism for total control and surveillance, a surveil system integrated with AI so that you can never outrun it.
A digital dog collar, and once it's clipped around your neck, you can't take it off. Now, the British government is calling it optional for now. Sound familiar? Remember when they said the same thing about vaccine passports?
Exactly.
Oh, it's just temporary, they said. Just for public health, they promised. Nobody's forcing you to get one, they insisted. But within weeks, you couldn't get into a restaurant or fly on an airplane without showing your papers. I'm pretty sure the Brit card will be following exactly the same playbook. Once these systems are in place, they become incredibly easy to expand. Quietly, incrementally, until suddenly you need your digital ID to apply for a job, then to rent an apartment, then to take public transportation, then to open a bank account. And before you know it, what was once optional becomes absolutely essential for
and mandatory. Like you said, yes, for anything you want to do. I just wanted to pause him right there when he said to open a bank account. Why is this a key spot to pause and speak on this? Vietnam bank account freeze. More than 86 million bank accounts have been terminated from September 1st. Thailand bank account freeze. In September 2025, the Thai bank temporarily froze millions of accounts due to an error and cracked down on scam-related mule accounts. If you can't see between that, of course it's temporarily. It was a test. Bank accounts being shut down right when digital IDs are being implemented. And of course, once again, the digital ID is for your security. That's the selling point. They're worried about cyber attacks and you being scammed. The government is a scam. They've been scamming us our whole life. Now they're worried.
Want to do in modern society. Here's the thing that should make every American's blood run cold. This same pattern is already starting here in the United States. We might not have a Brit card, but we're building the infrastructure for the same system, piece by piece, regulation by regulation, convenience by convenience. Think about how much has already changed just in the past few years. Your driver's license is becoming a real ID whether you like it or not. Your banking is moving digital whether you want it to or not. More and more services require you to verify your identity online using systems that track and store everything you do. Each step seems reasonable by itself, but when you connect the dots, the picture that emerges should terrify anyone who values freedom. The question isn't whether the government can legally create a mandatory digital ID system. They can't just wave a magic wand and make it happen overnight. Any mandatory system would require new legislation, just like when they tried this before with the Identity Cards Act back in the 2000s in Britain, which, by the way, got repealed because people fought back against it. But here's what's different now. They don't need to make it legally mandatory if they can make it practically impossible to live without. And
Right.
That's exactly what's happening.
Right.
Look around you. How much of your life already depends on digital systems? Your banking, your healthcare, your shopping, your communication with family and friends. Each of these systems is already collecting data about you, already tracking your behavior, already building a profile of who you are and what you do. A unified digital ID doesn't create surveillance, it just makes the surveillance more efficient. And once that infrastructure is in place, flipping the switch from optional to required becomes as simple as changing a few lines of code. No dramatic legislation needed. No big announcements. Just quiet changes to terms of service and compliance requirements that make it impossible to function in modern society without your digital papers. This is what I call the incremental trap, and it's how Every surveillance state in history has been built, not through dramatic coups or sudden oppression, but through 1,000 small compromises that each seem reasonable by themselves. First, they make it convenient. Look how easy this is. No more waiting in lines or filling out paperwork. Then they make it preferred. You can still do things the old way, but the new way is so much faster. Then they make it standard. Most people are using the digital system now, so we're phasing out the old options. And finally, they make it mandatory. For security reasons, we now require digital verification for all transactions. Each step builds on the last, and each step normalizes a little more control, a little more surveillance, a little more dependency on systems you don't control and can't opt out of. By the time people realize what's happened, resistance is painted as extremism, and going back to the old way becomes practically impossible. We've seen this exact pattern with so many things that are now part of daily life. Remember when you could fly without showing identification? Remember when you could open a bank account with just a handshake and your word? Remember when you could use cash for everything and nobody thought it was suspicious? Each of those freedoms was traded away for promises of security and convenience, and each time we were told it would never be expanded beyond its original purpose. But that's not how power works. Power expands. It always expands. Give someone a tool for control, and they will find new ways to use it, no matter what they promised when you first handed it over. And that brings us to the most dangerous part of the digital ID system. It's not just about identification. It's about tying your identity to your money, and when the government controls both your identity and your money, they control you completely. This is where central bank digital...
Exactly. Y'all know the saying. He who controls your finances controls your life. They want to control your life through your finances. Trackable, programmable money. CBDC, aka stablecoins in America. All tied to the digital IDB system, connected with a carbon footprint tracker to help sustain climate control, to stop the planet from getting hotter, is what they'll say. Each of these implementations are to enslave you completely. They are not because the government cares about the world. They are not because they care about your freedom and your security. Our information is being sold every single day. You apply for a job, they sell your information. When you sign up for social media, same thing. They're collecting your data. They don't care about protecting us. They care about controlling us. Do research into China. They're the first country that has had the digital IDs, the social credit score. What also came out of China? What started there? C19 started there. Then it became the world standard. What happens in China and other countries later becomes the standard for the world. They are all working together for this one world currency, one world government, one world religion agenda. This digital dictator agenda. Just when it comes to America, then it's the end game. America is the last domino to fall.
These come into play. Programmable money that can be turned on and off like a light switch. Imagine your bank account, but instead of being controlled by a private bank that at least has to compete for your business, it's controlled by the same government that decides what's acceptable speech, what's acceptable behavior, and what's acceptable thinking. With a digital ID tied to programmable money, here's what becomes possible. Your account gets flagged because you donated to the wrong political candidate. Your transactions get frozen because you attended the wrong rally. Your spending gets restricted because you bought too much of something the government thinks is bad for you. Your access to your own money gets cut off because you shared the wrong article on social media. This is exactly what's already happening in other parts of the world where digital currencies and social credit systems are being tested. The technology exists, the motivation exists, the infrastructure is being built. The only question is whether Americans will recognize the threat before it's too late. And the thing about this system from a control perspective is that it's invisible. When they freeze your account, there's no dramatic arrest, no public trial, no obvious oppression that might spark sympathy or outrage. Your card just stops working. Your payments just get declined. Your access just gets suspended for security reasons while they investigate your account activity. You become unpersoned without anyone even noticing because in a digital system, you only exist when the system says you exist. And if the system says you don't exist, well, good luck proving otherwise. But it doesn't stop with money, because money is just the first domino in a much larger system of control. Once your financial life is digital and trackable, everything else follows. Your healthcare becomes digital and trackable. Your travel becomes digital and trackable. Your communications become digital and trackable. Your very thoughts, as expressed through your online searches and social media activity, become digital and trackable. Suddenly, The government doesn't just know what you're doing, they know what you're thinking. And in a system where your access to everything depends on your compliance with government approval, thinking the wrong thoughts becomes a very expensive mistake. Picture this. It's a Tuesday morning, and you go to check into your doctor's appointment using your digital ID, just like you've done dozens of times before. But today, the system pauses. A message appears. Account verification needed. Please contact customer service. Your appointment gets canceled. Your prescription refill gets delayed. Your insurance claims get put on hold. What happened? Well, maybe you shared an article about natural immunity that the algorithm flagged as medical misinformation.
Just like they flagged us for misinformation when we spoke out about the C-19 jab. Just like when Kyrie Irving posted about the From Hebrews to Negroes documentary, he was banned from playing in the games. Freedom of speech will be taken through this system. Freedom of mobility and free thought will be taken through this system. They want to control what you think, what you post, every aspect of your everyday human life. They want to control it. America will look like North Korea soon, but worse.
Maybe you questioned a new policy online. Maybe you liked the wrong post from a friend. The system doesn't tell you exactly what triggered the flag that would make it too easy to avoid in the future. The goal isn't to educate you, it's to make you anxious, uncertain, and compliant. This is the world we're building, one convenience at a time. A world where every website you visit, every purchase you make, every place you go, every person you talk to gets added to your permanent digital record. And unlike the old days, when you could pay cash and walk away anonymously, or when different parts of your life were separate and private, everything becomes connected in one massive surveillance web. The genius of it, if you can call something this sinister genius, is that it happens gradually enough that each step feels normal.
You notice he said that we're building because he's a part of it.
Today, you need your digital ID to renew your driver's license. Next month, you need it to register to vote. Next year, you need it to collect Social Security. The year after that, you need it to get hired for any job. And eventually, trying to live without it becomes like trying to live without electricity or running water. Technically possible, but practically impossible in modern society. Now, you might be thinking, but I've got nothing to hide. If you're not doing anything wrong, why should you be worried? And I understand that sentiment. It's natural, it's human, and it's exactly what they're counting on. But here's the thing. Doing nothing wrong isn't a fixed standard. What's acceptable today might be illegal tomorrow. What's encouraged today might be criminalized next year. The same people who decide what counts as wrong are the ones who would control your digital ID, your access to money, and your ability to participate in society. Think about how much the definition of acceptable has changed just in your lifetime. Things your grandparents said freely are now considered hate speech. Political opinions that were mainstream when you were young are now called extremism. Medical questions that doctors used to encourage are now labeled as dangerous misinformation. The speed of this change is accelerating, not slowing down. And in a system where your ability to live depends on staying within the boundaries of acceptability, those boundaries become a moving target that you can never quite pin down.
Right. And with this agenda, what's considered wrong is consuming too much meat. We've already addressed it. Going against what government says. Having your own opinion on it. Just like we seen with Charlie Kirk. People are being fired if they voice a different opinion on the Charlie Kirk scenario, right? People that don't agree with his antics and what he was saying or are happy and celebrating the unaliving of him are being fired. It'll be the same thing. You had your own opinion on something, that's considered wrong. You don't agree with the digital ID, that's considered wrong. You don't want to take and be a part of the beast system, that's considered wrong. You get where I'm going? Another thing, like he said, it could be years apart, right? It's starting next year. In the UK this year. In America next year, January. It's a slow roll. That way you're compliant without even knowing what's going on. First, it's to get your ID renewed or to get a passport. Then it's to go to the doctor or to get your health records. And then slowly but surely, you've signed up for the B system without even knowing. You've willingly complied. To work even, right? Had a scan of your iris or your fingerprint. With the WEF, the World Economic Forum, said on one of their annual summits, on the panel they said, And this is when Klaus Schwab was still the chairman. He said their biggest concern is getting people to trust the system. They have to get people to trust it. So yes, it'll be considered optional and for convenience. They may even give cash incentives and promote it for safety measures because they want people to trust it. They don't want you to know what it really is. They want you to willingly give up all of your freedoms. First, they're going to see who will be compliant and willingly give up their freedoms. Then later, it'll be by force. If you don't get it, you can't partake in society. That's why I say by force. They won't force you into it, but you can't do anything or be a part of society, so you'll willingly comply. I'm not saying you or me, but I'm saying most people. So by force for you to do anything. Basically, no, we're not forcing you, but you just can't be a normal, everyday human being anymore. You get what I'm saying? So by force, in so many words.
The result is self-censorship, self-policing, and self-silencing, which is exactly the goal. You see, the most effective censorship isn't the kind where they drag you away in the middle of the night. It's the kind where you do it to yourself because you're afraid of losing access to everything you need to survive.
And that's what I'm saying.
When your money, your healthcare, your housing, and your employment all depend on your digital ID staying in good standing, you become very, very careful about what you say, what you think, and who you associate with. Your right to privacy isn't conditional on your obedience to the government. Your freedom to speak your mind isn't something you have to earn through compliance. Your ability to control your own money isn't a privilege granted by bureaucrats. These are fundamental rights that belong to you simply because you're human. But in a digital ID system tied to programmable money, all of these rights become permissions that can be revoked at any time for any reason by people you've never met and can't hold accountable. And that's the key word, accountability. Who's making these decisions about your digital identity? Who decides what behavior is acceptable? Who determines what speech is allowed? Who controls the algorithms that flag your account? Who reviews the appeals when the system makes a mistake? The uncomfortable truth is that most of these decisions are being made by unelected officials in government agencies and programmers at tech companies, working together in ways that the public doesn't see and can't influence. There's no referendum on digital surveillance. There's no real public debate about whether we want to live in a society where every transaction is monitored and every movement is tracked. Instead, it's being rolled out piece by piece, behind closed doors, dressed up as technological progress and administrative efficiency. By the time most people realize what's happening, the infrastructure is already in place, the dependencies are already created, and opting out is no longer a realistic option. But here's the thing about American democracy that gives me hope. We still have ways to fight back, if we're willing to use them. The system isn't implemented yet. The infrastructure isn't complete. The legal framework isn't locked in stone. We still have time to change course. Right now, there are already efforts underway to oppose these systems before they become law. Petitions are circulating that have gathered hundreds of thousands of signatures. Some reports suggest the numbers are reaching into the millions, demanding that digital ID systems not be implemented without full public debate and consent. These petitions are forcing the issue into parliamentary and congressional discussions where it can't be quietly implemented behind closed doors. And your everyday choices matter more than you might think. One of the most powerful forms of resistance is also one of the simplest: use cash whenever possible. Cash is private, anonymous, and completely outside the digital surveillance system. Every time you pay with cash instead of a card, you're voting for privacy. You're voting for independence. You're voting for a world where not every transaction is recorded and monitored. I know using cash isn't always convenient, especially when so many businesses are pushing toward digital payments, but that's exactly why it's important. The more we rely on digital systems for everything, the easier it becomes for those systems to control us. Keeping cash alive keeps freedom alive. You can also support businesses and platforms that respect your privacy and don't require digital ID verification for every interaction. Vote with your wallet for companies that still believe in customer privacy. Use search engines that don't track you. Choose social media platforms that don't monitor your private messages. Support banks that still offer traditional services without requiring digital identity verification for basic transactions. And, perhaps most importantly, talk to your friends and family about these issues. One of the reasons these systems are being implemented so quietly is that most people don't understand what's happening or why it matters. They see digital convenience and think it sounds nice. They don't see the surveillance infrastructure being built around them. Help them understand that this isn't about technology, it's about power. It's about whether we want to live in a society where citizens are free or one where everyone needs government permission for basic activities of daily life. Share articles about what's happening in other countries, point out the incremental changes happening here at home, ask them simple questions. Do you want the government to know every time you buy groceries? Do you want your bank account to be turned off if you express the wrong political opinion? Do you want algorithms deciding whether you're allowed to travel? Most people, when they really think about it, don't want to live in that kind of world. The problem is that most people aren't thinking about it because the changes are happening slowly and quietly, wrapped in language about convenience and security. But there's something even more fundamental we need to understand about this entire issue. When you strip away all the technical details, all the policy arguments, all the promises about efficiency and security, digital ID systems are really about one thing: power. Who has the power to control how you live your life? Who has the power to monitor your behavior? Who has the power to cut off your access to money, healthcare, employment, and basic services? In a free society, that power belongs to you. In a surveillance society, that power belongs to whoever controls the digital systems. This isn't about left versus right, Democrat versus Republican, liberal versus conservative. Those old political categories are becoming increasingly irrelevant in a world where the real divide is between people who want to control others and people who want to be left alone. There are people on both sides of the traditional political spectrum who love the idea of having more power over their fellow citizens. And there are people on both sides who believe in individual freedom and limited government power. The digital ID issue cuts across party lines because it's fundamentally about human freedom, not partisan politics. The question we're facing as a society is simple. Do we want to live in a world where every citizen has the freedom to make their own choices, even when those choices aren't perfect? Or do we want to live in a world where algorithms and bureaucrats make those choices for us in the name of efficiency and security? Do we want to live in a world where you can disagree with your government without losing access to your money? Or do we want a world where financial survival depends on political compliance? These aren't small questions. These are the questions that will determine what kind of country we leave to our children and grandchildren. And the window for answering them is closing fast. The people pushing these systems are counting on our apathy, our distraction, our willingness to trade freedom for convenience one small step at a time. They're betting that by the time we realize what we've lost, we'll be too dependent on their systems to resist. But they're forgetting something important about Americans. When we finally wake up to a threat to our freedom, we don't just resist, we fight back with everything we've got. And right now, we still have the tools to win this fight without it becoming an actual fight. We have the political system, we have the Constitution, we have economic choices, we have the power of public opinion, we have the ability to organize, to speak out, and to demand better from our leaders. The question is whether we'll use these tools while we still have them, or whether we'll wait until it's too late and wonder why we didn't act when action was still possible. Digital ID isn't just another app or another government program. It's the foundation of a system where freedom becomes conditional, where privacy becomes a luxury, and where your ability to live depends on your willingness to comply with
ever-changing rules.
And where your ability to live depends on your willingness to comply with ever-changing rules made by people you can't hold accountable. The United States still has a chance to say no to this system before it's too late. But only if people stay awake, stay vocal, and refuse to sleepwalk into a surveillance state that makes George Orwell's worst nightmares look like a pleasant dream.
Drop a comment in the comment section below, family. Let me know what y'all thought about this video. If y'all would like to see more videos similar to this one, where we have high intellectual conversations, then let me know. The digital ID is something you need to be on guard about. It's not just coming to America. It's not just coming to the UK. Look into Agenda 2030 if you haven't yet. Stay aware. Don't be deceived. Don't willingly comply and give your freedoms away. Signing a petition, do I think that'll do anything when the Sons, y'all know what I'm saying, control the court systems? Hashatan controls the world at this time. I do think for now, paying in cash is the way to go until the currency goes digital. Make it as hard as possible for the algorithm to recognize your habits while we still have a chance. In the coming years, things will be different. The dollar is going digital. Resist while you can, build your own systems while you can, build community while you can. Get out of her, my people, so we do not fall with Babylon. I appreciate y'all for watching. Peace to my Hebrew fam. Shalom. I will catch y'all on the next one.